This is how I used to sit. It doesn't feel good. I get it. It doesn't feel good. Nithyanandam paramasukadam kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam gagana sadrusham tattvamasyadiraksham ekam nityam vimalamachalam sarvadi sakshibhutam bhavatitam trigunorahitam sadgurum tam namami. Welcome back to the Blissful Athlete, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are not a yogi unless you can get into Padmasana without using your hands. As per my guru's standards, this is what he said recently, and this is something that he has said in the past as well. So moving forward, I'm going to be doing a sequence just for my own practice to help myself get into Padmasana without using my hands at all. So if you are a follower of my guru, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, or you're just wanting to get into Padmasana, even using your hands, then this sequence is something that you can follow along with. Watch this video, follow along, and this is something that's definitely going to help you no matter what level you're at. So the first thing I want to let everybody know, I used to sit like this. This is how I used to sit. When I was a professional ice hockey player, we would go and do readings to kids, and we'd be sitting there on the ground with them reading books, and my hips were so tight that I had to sit like this. And after 5 minutes, I'd be like stretching out my feet, and I'd just be so done. And so I've come a long ways. Now I can sit in Padmasana. I'm still having to lift my legs up, pulling my feet up manually, but the progression is just leaps and bounds. And so I'm going to go over everything that I've done to help me get to that point as well. So I really do recommend following along with this video and doing it consistently. It's definitely going to help you get to that Padmasana level. The first thing I did was I would actually just sit on the floor as much as possible. I would sit down cross-legged, and after about 5 minutes, my hips would get so tight, then I would go sit in a chair. Once I was ready again, I would come back down to the floor and sit down again. And just that weight of the knees and the legs pulling down, it puts so much uncomfortable sensation on the hips, I should say, to the point where my legs would fall asleep. What I would do until I couldn't handle it anymore, I would like stretch out my legs, and then I'd bring in my ankles and I'd just open up my hips. And I'd play with it, let the blood kind of rush back in, do the other side. And then I might just sit back down again in regular Sukhasana, or I would go sit in a chair, relax my hips for some time. So if you're at the level where you can't sit cross-legged even for an extended period of time, that's fine. You can still get to Padmasana. Take the time, get into a comfortable seated or uncomfortable seated position. Once it gets to a point where you can't handle it anymore, stretch out your legs, loosen them up, shake your legs if you need to, and then open up the hips. Just by putting your ankle and just kind of playing and relaxing that area, you can rub in the hips as well. That helps loosen up the blood and just get the muscles back to life a bit. So that's like the first stage of getting towards Padmasana. If you're beyond that, great. The next thing that I would recommend is, if you can, having one foot on the opposite leg. So Ardha Padmasana or something close to that. Now, when you're here, I want you to be really careful about taking care of your knee. You don't want to put any torque on your knee. It can cause a lot of damage, actually. So near that beginner level, if your hips are really tight, you could put a lot of undue stress on your knee. And so make sure that you are not torquing your knee in any way. Now, if your hips are too tight and you are putting stress and torquing the knee, I don't want you to do this. What I would recommend is bring your ankle closer to the knee, and you might have a hip that comes up quite a bit. That's fine. hold your ankle, hold your knee, and just start to lean forward and relax that area and open up the hip in that way. You could spend, again, as much time as you would like here. I would honestly tend to like try and read books. I would do anything that I can sitting down while opening up my hip. So this is something you can do throughout your day during a lot of different actions or things that you're doing. And then again, switching sides and doing the same thing. Again, making sure you take care of your knee and just starting to lean forward and play with that. Now, somebody asked me the other day on my Instagram, how do you develop flexibility? Ultimately, it is the process of infusing your awareness, your conscious awareness into the region that you're feeling the uncomfortable sensations and unclutching. Just relaxing that tension and still sitting with it, and then even listening to it, and then just acknowledging it, and then choosing to go deeper into that. That's how flexibility can really be manifested quicker. It's the more awareness that you're infusing into that area. So even when you are sitting here and reading a book, etc., that's fine. But just remember that you do need to kind of check in and take it to the next level. Dive deeper into that area consciously. What you'll find is that the hips start to open up again. So again, after that, I would tend to open up my hips. This is like my relaxation position. Rub in the hip, go to the other side, do the same thing. I would extend my feet out too. Sometimes I might feel that a tiny bit in my knees, and so I'd rub my knees as well. If you're really interested in getting that quantum jump in flexibility and getting to Padmasana right away, it's just really time of getting into the positions and loosening it up, relaxing, and then getting back into it again. Another great position that I like to do is what a lot of people call pigeon pose. However, there's no Shastra Pramana, there's no Pramana for pigeon, but it is just a good way to open up your hips as well. And so this is something I did a lot at the beginning too. Now there's a couple ways of doing this. Initially, you can keep your ankle rather close to your groin. Now what you'll find is that this opens up your glutes a little bit more than your hip would, but it's a nice way to get deep into that region, opening up the hip flexor or not the hip flexor, but the hip if you're a really beginner. And so when I first started, what I found was that I needed to make sure that I was taking care of my knee for one, because my hips were so tight, and because my hips were so tight, my ankle had to be really close. Now, as you progress, you can slightly extend your ankle out a little bit and then lean into that again. And just as before, as you come down and bring your chin down, chest down, it's such a simple way of safely increasing the flexibility in your hip. So when I'm here, my focus, my attention is in the region that I'm feeling the stretch, that I'm feeling the uncomfortable sensation. And I come down and I bring my chest down, and I just sit with it and just hold it and just be there. Then I come back up and relax. I might stretch out my leg and I might go back into it again. Then maybe I feel like I'm ready to extend my ankle a little bit further to open up more of that hip region. Then that's what I would do. But as you do that, I want you to really take care. The knee starts to becoming a little bit more fragile in that region. So if you don't have the flexibility, avoid that completely. So from here, same thing. Bring the chest down, sit there, hold, be with the posture. Again, infusing your awareness into that region that you're feeling the stretch. And then I encourage you here, while you're here, to start playing around. So if you notice a couple little tips that you can improve the flexibility and find a little bit of a deeper stretch, I like to put my elbow on my knee and start extending my chest out to the other side and finding more areas that can open up, and I'll play a little bit more and I'll come a little bit more over maybe. Depending on where you're at, you might be able to bring your chest all the way down. Again, taking care of your knee if you don't have that flexibility. And this is something that you can do if your ankle is nice and close as well, is kind of play with that, find different spaces, come over to the other side, explore your hip, explore the tightness. Some people are going to feel tightness in a completely different area from me, and a lot of people might feel in this same exact space, but everybody's body is going to be a little bit different, and so you have to kind of play with it. And then if you find something, sit with that, be there, infuse your awareness there, dive deeper into it, and then explore again. And so eventually what you'll be able to do is bring your ankle all the way out, and this is something that I'm starting to progress towards, and this is why I'm not able to put myself into Padmasana without my hands, is because this flexibility is not there. So I can almost get my leg up completely, but it's too tight closer to the back. Now, as you can see, you got to be really careful with the knee here. So I use my hands, and I'm really kind of controlling my body, taking care of myself. So wherever you're at, whether the ankle's close to the groin, a little bit further out, maybe it's extended a little bit like this, just be with the stretch. Really, you gotta learn to love that uncomfortable sensation. That's really what it is. You know, like, it doesn't feel good. I get it. It doesn't feel good. Just recognize again and again, what is our intention? It's really not to like get into Padmasana. Our intention is what? To radiate Paramashiva, to radiate the divine. And so being in Padmasana is a way to radiate the divine. So let's manifest that. Let's do tyaga of this uncomfortable sensation that you're feeling. And then slowly relax and come out of it. And look how slow I come out of this even. I'm nice and relaxed. I'll be here. I'll shake my legs, loosen them up a bit. And then I might move on to the other side. And since we're doing this together, let's do that. Let's switch over to the other side. So again, you might start off with ankle close to the groin. Nothing wrong with that. When you do this, you'll feel it more in the glutes. Right now, for me, I've progressed to the point where I don't even feel this at all, actually. And so right away, I'm going to just extend my foot a little bit more and see where I'm at today. Some days I might be a little bit tighter. Some days I might not. And I'll lean a little bit forward and down. Start to explore. Remember, go to other sides. See what your body is feeling in different areas. Kind of search for that tightness. Be aware. Tune in. Find that space. And when you do, rest there, relax, tune in. And if it gets too easy, extend your foot out a little bit more. And if you're here, really take care of your knee. I'm putting all my weight on my hands actually, and then I slowly start to lower my body down just with the use of my hands. And again, everything I'm tuned into where that sensation is. Again, it's not going to be comfortable, it's going to be uncomfortable. Infuse awareness, infuse Padmashiva into that space. Remember your intention to manifest the divine. This might not be like a traditional sequence, an official asana sequence, but our intention should always be the same, to manifest Padmashiva. And if you're somebody that's doing the Pratama Vinyasa Krama, Nithyananda Yoga's 108 asana sequence, this is a great way to open up. There's a few asanas where they're demanding to have a good hip flexibility. So if you notice now, what I've done is I brought my elbows right down and I've relaxed and I'm leaning more into that region, bringing my chest down. So whatever position you're at, You can bring your elbows down. What you'll find is that the mind starts to really wander. It starts to kick out to something, some random thought, some random thing. It wants to get its attention away from that sensation. You got to continuously bring it back, focus there, don't let it wander. The more you do that, the quicker flexibility comes. It's just time and space and intention, awareness. Again, no matter what position you're in, taking care of your knee. And I'm slowly coming out of this. And then relaxing. Something else that you can incorporate every day is Padmasana. Extending your feet out in front of you. Just reaching forward as best you can. When you open up your hamstrings, it helps a little bit when you're trying to get into Padmasana. And so I recommend exploring Padmasana quite often as well. Leaning forward, extending your feet, wherever you're at, doesn't matter. You might be here. Just do your best to elongate your spine. Again, sit with that uncomfortable sensation. When I do this, when I point my toes, it's more comfortable. But what I recommend is to actually point your toes. You'll start to feel a little bit more behind the knees, at the top of the calves. That's really good as well to open up that region. So if you're at the level of being able to hold your toes, just take an inhalation. Or even if you're not at the level of holding your toes, just here, take an inhalation with me. And then exhale. Lean further forward and down. And then hold yourself. Find your limit and just hold yourself there. Sitting with that uncomfortable sensation as you rise up. Taking a couple deep breaths. You might want to shake out your legs depending on what you're feeling. And again, everybody's body's going to feel something different. My hips actually, they get a little bit tighter than most of my other body parts. And so I'm constantly actually playing with them throughout the day, opening them up and just loosening them up and seeing how they're doing. So just like the other positions that we've gone over, just lean forward, sit with it a couple times each side, 2-3 times, and just be there for an extended period of time. You can explore it, being there, sitting there for as long as minutes, whatever you feel most comfortable in. What I do recommend though is there's a study done that showed that flexibility after 30 seconds, like holding a stretch after 30 seconds, is useless. And the study's flawed because you can't really determine how focused, how intent somebody is holding that stretch. Once they get to 30 seconds, the average person has probably just lost the attention span and they're kind of like done with it. But if you're there for 30 seconds, holding it, sitting with that uncomfortable sensation, and then you choose to go deeper into that, holding it even more, then the stretch, I would say, is still very beneficial and it hasn't lost its luster. So it's all about sitting with the posture, holding yourself there, feeling the uncomfortable sensation. And then rising up whenever you'd like. And just for the sake of this video, we'll only do it 2 times here. And I'll show one more sequence, something that you can do. Very simple. From this position, having your hands behind you, fingers pointed backwards, lifting up a leg, taking care of your knee and just leaning your chest forward. You can slightly lean forward or walk forward a little bit closer, and just you're playing with holding your chest there. This is a nice relaxed way of exploring this. During the PVK, there's an asana where your ankle is close to the groin and you have to physically lift up the foot. So rather than doing that in Samanasana, we'll just have our foot like this. It's a little bit more of a relaxed way of doing that. You can kind of just use the leverage of your locked elbows to lean forward and open up. And then do, again, the same thing on the other side. What I'm doing here is like my knee is locked. I have tension on my knee. If you notice my ankle here to here, so I've got my ankle locked, my knee locked, I have tension there. So in that way, I'm taking care of my knee. It's protected. And then I lean forward and open it up. Okay? And again, each one of these positions is something that you can do to progress to getting your leg over top of your head. Now, the thing is, you're going to get to a point where you can get a leg up here and it starts to get exciting. Always take care of your knee. Make sure that you're not putting too much stress. You're not torquing on your knee in order to get your foot up into Padmasana. Okay? What you might find is that one side is a little bit easier as well to have one leg up than the other. Just explore that, play with that, but make sure again that you're just taking care of the knees. So if you're here and you're in that Padmasana position, you're trying to get up, like I still don't have it. I don't have it on this side, but maybe I have it on the other side. You want to get that foot as close as you can to the opposite hip. Okay? See, right away I noticed that I have more flexibility on that side. It's almost there. Almost there. Not quite. So I'll just have to slightly lift it up. But again, just doing this sequence every day or as often as you can. You can do it during whatever your evening routine is. When you're reading a book. I just finished my dinner, so I'm letting my food digest, my soup digest, and I can open up my hips and work towards something, work towards being an actual authentic yogi. And so I hope this helps you guys as well. I know it definitely will if you are consistent with your practice. And if you did try this out, if you tagged along, let me know in the comments section. Would love to hear what your experience was. If you had any other questions, certainly there's a lot of other things that you could do to improve your flexibility, and that includes your diet, a lot of different postures, things that you could explore. Just for the sake of this video and a routine that I like to do at home, I think it's something that is definitely going to be beneficial for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get updated and notified when I release new videos. And yeah, we'll see you guys on future videos. Take care, and as always, be blissful. Nithyananda. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Bhagavat Sri Nithyananda Paramashiva Paduka Paramastu. Om Nithyanandam